Hi everyone, this is Mary. We're going to just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm so happy that you're here, and we're going to learn about how to utilize Canva to create free visual schedules for our friends in church. Okay, so first we need a blank document. And there's lots of different options here. It can be sort of overwhelming. I like to use this flyer option because 8.5 by 11 inches, that is the size of printer paper. So that makes it easy when it comes printing time. We have our blank document here. Over here to the left, you see this Elements tab. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the Elements tab. The first thing that we need is a square. So you search for a square and click on it, and then you get this gray square with no border, and we need a transparent square with a border. So you click on the square, you add a border by pressing these three little lines, picking your border. You can adjust the border thickness by this number. Then you press color. For our color for this, we need no color. We need it to be transparent. So now we have our box. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller by utilizing one of these corner buttons. You could also utilize these side buttons to adjust the size. Okay, so whenever I'm doing things, I like to start with the end game in mind. So let's just go ahead and create a base of a visual schedule. This is, of course, not how every single visual schedule needs to look. This is just one way that a visual schedule could look. I'm doing this by pressing on the square and copying it and then pasting it. To copy on my computer, I do Command C, and then to paste, I do Command V. To title it, I'm going to press on the text tab, add a heading, and visual schedule can be the title of this one. Okay, so this is an example of our end game. If I printed this out and laminated it, then I could put some receiving Velcro on these squares, and then the little choice tabs that I end up making, I can add them to the applicable spot for the visual schedule. Of course, a visual schedule could literally also be pictures on a popsicle stick. It could be something that maybe didn't have the whole day on it. Maybe it only had two things, because maybe a friend needs this level of support and they need more of a first then type situation where there's only two things that we're thinking of at one time in terms of transitions. So maybe right now we're here in Bible time and then it's craft time. Maybe that's the visual support that someone needs. So there are a variety of different things that you can choose, and these are definitely not your only two options. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you all those two options and also show you how to create the base with these squares, because we do want the size of these squares to match the size of squares that we put the different options on. So you just saw where I duplicated this page. Okay, so now that went ahead and copied and pasted that square over here. I also could have gone up here and copied that square and pasted it down here. I'm going to go ahead and make some more squares here. Okay, so let's say the very first thing that your friends do whenever they get in on Sunday morning is they color. So let's search for color. We're going to be looking at the graphics. If you see these little crowns that say Pro, that means that you either have to pay for the Pro subscription or you have to pay for that specific graphic to utilize it. And that is just not what I'm doing right now. I'm only using free options. So anything without those is fair game for free. All right, so we click on what we want. I like this one because it represents coloring well. I'm going to edit the size by utilizing one of the four corners and then drag it to the box. I'm going to zoom on in using the mouse pad on my MacBook to get closer. Then we want to title it. So you go to the text tab. You have an option to add a text box or use the default text styles. I like to use the default text styles because it is easy. Okay, I'm going to title this coloring, and I'm going to edit the size either by utilizing the font size up here or utilizing the corners. Again, it's the same principle as with the graphics. Okay, so just as easy as that, we have our first tab. Just imagine this tab being printed out, laminated, cut out with Velcro on it, and then we can place this coloring tab right here or right here. So that's the idea. So I'm going to show creating one more as an example. So let's say after they do coloring, they do worship time with music. So same thing, graphics, going to the graphics, picking something that I feel like represents the music well. Okay, so I'm going to pick that one. And, a more optimal thing for music, honestly, would be picking an object that the kid could associate with the music. So, for example, like let's say you always show something on a TV every time, then maybe it would be better to show a TV because not every kid is going to recognize that these are music symbols. But this is also great too. And especially because with time, they will, begin to likely associate this picture with worship. Someone might think, well, why do we need to have the words on there? Because there's already the pictures. It is because language consistency is very important, especially whenever you think about how the same kid might be using this visual schedule with different volunteers. So especially if this visual schedule is a substantial support for a friend or friends, and it really positively impacts their successful participation in church, then we really want to ensure optimal effectiveness by that consistent language. So then you would create these as many as you feel like you need for your church. If you want to create more squares, you can select a whole row, Command C, Command V, drag it over. So now you have multiple squares. Obviously, you wouldn't need multiple of the same one, but you get the idea. That is how you can create more squares. Okay, so that is a really simple tutorial on how to utilize free version of Canva to create visual schedules. I did want to note, same principles we were talking about here, as not every kid's going to recognize that as music initially. It's kind of the same thing. Visual schedules can be hard, especially if a kid has never used a visual schedule before, or maybe they're just starting to utilize them. You all can take pictures of your rooms, your activities, your teachers, your environment. You can take pictures and get them on your computer and upload them using this upload tab, and then just drag the pictures over here, and same thing with just adding the picture, putting the title in, and that can be a part of your visual schedule. So like, for example, let's say, at the end of the day, everyone sits in a circle and does prayer time. You could take a picture of that happening. Or you could take a picture of the rug that happens at and put that on the schedule. So that is just an idea. And as we wrap up, I just want to say I'm so glad that you are here, because I think visual schedules can be an amazing support in the faith community. Visual schedules are just great for supporting transitions and preparing our hearts and minds about what's going to happen that day and what's happening now and what's happening next. And whenever we think about kids with different needs, such as kids with auditory processing difficulties or kids with sensory processing disorder, kids who have difficulty with transitioning to non-preferred task, these sorts of supports can really help their success and their access to church. Also, I think visual schedules can be really beneficial, especially to kind of avoid those almost power struggle moments. If a kid really, I really want to do something else. Oh my goodness, that sounds like so much fun, but Next is Bible time on the schedule. So, it kind of gives that structure for everyone in the room. So I just think it can be a super valuable resource. And as we know, or you might not know this, but individuals with disability are greatly underrepresented in the church, which is absolutely heartbreaking. And I believe that it is so important to add in supports and remove barriers to ensure that everyone has access to be able to attend church. I'm really passionate about this, and so it's just really encouraging to my heart that you're here. Please comment any questions that you have, and I will try to answer them in the comment section. I hope that you have a great day and happy inclusion.